Hello, my name is Tyson Forsyth, and this is my Bio 1770 class presentation. Me and my partner, we decided to report on microplastics in the world's oceans. So first off, what are microplastics and where do they come from? Microplastics are derived from larger macroplastics until they're degraded into smaller and smaller chunks, and that's what we constitute as a microplastic. About 90% of all of these macroplastic pollutions in the world's oceans will come from a terrestrial source. So that can be from waste management systems are actually responsible for about 3/4 of these macroplastics in the world's oceans. Specifically, landfills and even our recycling industry is the cause of a lot of these macroplastics in the Earth's oceans. Often they will gather together around these gyri in the Earth's oceans. You've probably heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and that is where one of these gyri is, where a large quantity of these plastics have gathered together due to the ocean's currents. A lot of, like I said, these plastics find their way into the oceans through a lot of different means. This can be through wind, through rivers and streams and general erosion, but a large part of it is through pollution of individuals and corporations along coastal city lines around the world. Once these microplastics are in the ocean, like I said, they slowly degrade until they become smaller and smaller and become what we call a microplastic. However, there are some microplastics that are designed and engineered specifically to be used as microplastics in consumer products and commercial products as well. Due to this mass pollution of the Earth's oceans, in a study from China along coastal waters and even deep sea waters of the Pacific Ocean, they said that 100% of their random samples came back with microplastics in each sample. So it's pretty hard to find a random sample of ocean water that has not been affected by microplastics. What are some of the problems that arise and the risks that our oceans face due to these microplastics? Well, because they are so small, they have a high surface area. And then also, as they've been degraded, they're generally fairly porous, as you can see, and they have large cracks in them, which actually allows for chemical pollutants to absorb into these plastics quite easily and then remain in them for a long period of time. One of the problems that comes with that is that many fish and plankton ingest these microplastics, and then they have this chemical and then plastic in their intestinal system. Now, because of the absorption of these chemicals, microplastics and these pollutants actually synergize together, creating a larger problem than either of them would individually. And so, like I said, they remain in the intestinal tract almost indefinitely, not being dissolved or eaten away by digestive juices or the like. And so these chemicals have a longer period of time to actually absorb into the intestinal tract and into the other chemical imbalance and cause other chemical imbalances in several species. And then as lower trophic levels are eaten and consumed by higher trophic levels, these microplastics continue to make their way up the food chain and including into human consumption. It's been shown that those with higher fish diets will actually be consuming some of these microplastics. So what are some of the things that we can do? Well, as ocean cleanup is a worthwhile initiative, if we're not stopping this pollution at the source, it kind of becomes a moot point. And so one of the biggest things we can do is making sure that we have more efficient waste management facilities, both our landfills and our recycling. As well, more regulation on industrial producers, and that's going to come as consumers are a little bit more conscious about what they're buying. It's important to note that a lot of these biodegradable plastics that are advertised, they only biodegrade on land, and once they find their way into the oceans, those circumstances that make them able to biodegrade actually are no longer there. There's not the heat or the bacteria that is available in terrestrial, and so being more conscious of avoiding plastics as much as possible and creating a culture where plastic pollution becomes unacceptable are some of the best things we can do. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed my part of the presentation. I really enjoyed presenting it for you.